Adopting the Older Child Domestic. I'm Christine Altwies, Executive Director of Hawaii International Child. With me today is Abby Sylvester, Director of Social Work at Hawaii International Child, and Shiomi Chow, who is a recruiter for Wendy's Wonderful Children with Family Programs Hawaii. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we are very excited to have these experts with us today because you are both professionally and personally involved with older child adoption as adoptive mothers and professionals. I can think of no one better to be here and speak with us about the importance of older child adoption. Abby, you have 9 children.
9, yes.
7 of whom you adopted, and they range in age from 1 to 23.
Yes, ma'am.
And Shiomi, you have 3 children, 2 adopted locally, and they range in age from?
My children are 13 to 18.
13 to 18, yeah. Okay, great. So when we think of adoption, typically people think of infant adoption, meeting the child at the hospital right when the child is born, but for many children in the United States right now, adoption is something that they dream of and hope for, which may or may not actually ever happen. 250,000 foster children in the U.S. right now, over 100,000 of those hoping for a forever family at some point. Here in Hawaii, 1,300 children approximately at any given time in the foster care system. Hard to know how many of those children are actually available for permanent placement, but needless to say, there are a few at any time. And those are the children that we're going to talk about today. Those are the children that we're really trying to help and that we're hoping this program brings some attention to. So Abby, who are these children who are in need of adoption here in Hawaii? Give us an idea of how these children end up in the system and who they are.
Okay. So children that need to be adopted from foster care, for some reason, not any fault of their own. I want to emphasize that. Not any fault of their own. They cannot return back to birth family. It's been deemed unsafe for them to go back to birth family. And at this point, they need a new forever family. And so the children that Shiomi and I are so passionate about finding homes for are our older kids. We're talking about age 10 and above. And they come from all different cultural backgrounds, all representative of the people in Hawaii. And like any group of kids, they have their different strengths and their different talents and their different needs and challenges. You want to?
Shiomi, you were saying last time about some of the things that happen in the families that result in the children coming into the system. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, the children that are in foster care right now, they've had a lot of different experiences. Some of them, the parents have been on drugs, and so the parents have been neglectful. Or sometimes they've, experienced abuse, whether it's physical or emotional or sexual abuse, neglect. Some of the children, their parents have been incarcerated and there's no other family that can care for them. There's a lot of variety of things, but all of them have experienced trauma of some sort. Maybe just being removed from your family unit and all that you know is traumatic in itself. So a lot of the children have gone through a lot of experiences, but they're very resilient as well. And so it's great to see that the children are, trying their best and doing their best. And sometimes, they do have definitely challenges, but they're all children that, like Abby said, they're in the foster care system for no fault of their own at all. And
we want to believe that these children can have a good opportunity at life and to live a fulfilled, healthy life and be part of a family and be given that chance. I guess what you're saying is it's never too late to have that chance at a good life.
Definitely.
So the children at some point age out of the system. I know that's what we're kind of looking at today, is trying to help some of these children before they age out. So if a child is 14, 15, 16, that child could still be adopted.
Definitely.
And that child may want to be adopted.
Yeah, many of the children are still seeking their forever families, still holding out hope that there's a home for them where they can feel comfortable to put their feet up.
Okay. What kind of families would you suggest apply to this program? Who would be a good parent to a child who's in the system right now? What kind of people should be considering this?
Well, I think it's important to know there's not just one type of adoptive parent. Adoptive parents, are as diverse as the children that need to be adopted. The one thing I think that we all have in common is that perseverance and unconditional love, that no matter what, these children are our children and we're not going to give up, and we're going to get them the services that they need to be healthy and live happy and healthy lives, and that we're a family and families don't give up.
So these children, I would imagine, coming from challenging backgrounds, having had a lot of disappointment, having had a lot of broken trust, having had adults let them down left and right, may build up some challenging behaviors, may develop some mistrust themselves, may test limits a little more, may need you to prove to them that you're not going to leave them like everyone else. So what I hear you saying is you're looking for parents who aren't going to take personally some of the behaviors.
Right,
Yes.
you cannot.
You can't.
You cannot. Take
Give
it
me some
personally.
examples, either from your personal life or your professional life, of some behaviors. Give our viewers an
Well, I think, like you
example.
said, a lot of these kids have never had stable adults in their life. They don't, adults have disappointed them again and again. And just because you say you want to adopt them or you say you want to be their new parent, you're going to have to prove that. Actions speak louder than words. And some kids might test you because it's easier in the long run just to go ahead and make you mad, and so they can move on to the next house, because then endure the pain that's staying with you until you decide later on to give up on them.
Oh, it's really sad.
Yeah, it is. And so again, like you said, you cannot take it personally. Kids are smart. I mean, biological children know how to push their biological parents' buttons. So adoptive children are no different. They're going to try to make you upset sometimes, and you just need to know that that's what kids do.
So I guess what I hear you saying is, if you're a parent who maybe is looking to parent for the wrong reasons, you have to be careful, I guess. Why do you want to be a parent, and what do you expect out of the parenting experience? That would be an important thing to evaluate before you start this, because these kids are going to be depending on you. You need to know who you are and what you're capable of before you bring a child into the situation.
For sure.
And we really need families that can put the needs of the children first,
Okay.
so that they can adapt their parenting styles towards the needs of the children. So it's flexible and resilient themselves.
Not be afraid to ask for help. I mean, both Chiomi and I have higher education, and we still ask for help on how to parent our children, because not every parenting technique works for every child. You have to be flexible to find the parenting technique that works for your child.
Right.
I guess that's a really important point, because if you, as a prospective adoptive parent, feel certain about your parenting philosophy, and the child comes in and demands that you consider completely changing your parenting philosophy, and as parents, we often, I think, believe that we have to know what's best for the child. We're the parent, we've got to sort of set the guidelines, and now here comes a child who's saying, your way of doing things isn't working for me. That takes a very humble adult, I would say, a very open-minded parent to be able to do that.
I think you have to be teachable in that sense of open to, not that, I mean, you can keep definitely the values that you truly believe in. You don't have to change who you are, but you definitely need to be willing to maybe learn new skills, or talk to the therapist about what they might think, or other professionals about what they think might work best for the child.
Yeah, what's great about adopting a child from foster care is that most of the time these children come with great support groups. You have a therapist that you can work with. You have their guardian ad litem that you can work with, their social worker. Perhaps if they have some medical needs, you have that already in place. So you have the people there who can support you and guide you.
And those resources and support system stays in place even after you legally adopt the child?
Some of them. Yes, some of
Okay.
them.
Okay,
But
good.
up until they'll help you to get the child settled into their home, into the home. Yeah, for sure, the insurance stays after you adopt, and that would help to pay for the therapists and the medical doctors. That's in place. If they receive services through Department of Health, that stays in place.
Okay. I want to make sure we talk about some of the children who are actually waiting right now. Before we get to that, can we just sort of review what the process is? So if somebody's interested in adopting one of these children, what should they do?
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Talk about Wendy's Wonderful
Yes,
Children. Maybe.
so I work for Wendy's Wonderful Kids through Family Programs Hawaii, and people can call me and we can talk to them. We also have like an orientation night, and we can send them packets afterwards of as far as the paperwork and the process of getting a home study. But yeah, for Wendy's Wonderful Kids, we're looking specifically for families that are interested in adopting the older children.
And by older, you mean?
Like 10 and up.
Okay.
So especially the teenagers, we get a lot of referrals from DHS that are teenagers, 14, 15, 16, 17,
And DHS, you mean Department of Human Services,
Yes.
which is legally responsible for these children while they're in limbo before they get into permanent families.
Right. And the
Okay.
children that we have, the rights of the parents have already been severed, so they're available for adoption in that sense, where the rights have been severed and they need adoptive homes.
Okay, great. So they should
Yeah.
contact you at Wendy's Wonderful Children. And you have a program also?
I do. I'm really excited. Hawaii International Child has recently partnered up with DHS, Department of Human Services, to help get the kids who have been waiting in foster care for a long time. A lot of these kids have just been in limbo for up to 2 years. And so we're stepping in there, helping to recruit families, using some of our families, and with the goal of getting the kids, older kids, like Chiyomi's working with, age 10 to 18, into homes.
And if I understand, you're actually sharing the same children. You're all working for the same children, both
It's not a competition.
HIC and Wendy's Wonderful
We realize that
Children.
it really helps to have a community that's looking out for the children. So some of the so we are aware of both of the caseloads that we have, and we try to work together what's best for the children.
Somehow find a family for each of these waiting children.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
why don't we talk a little bit about some of these children who are currently waiting? So obviously we are not disclosing actual identities. We've come up with pseudonyms for these children to protect them. But we're going to talk sort of generally about maybe 2 or 4 of these kids who are currently waiting, just so we can have an idea of who they are and how wonderful they are and worthy of permanent families. Chiyomi, why don't you share a little bit?
We have Aaron. He's 15 years old, and he's like this big teddy bear. He gives great hugs. I saw him the other day, and he gave just a great hug. He's a big teddy bear of a boy. And he also has I guess he acts sometimes more like a younger child.
Okay.
And
why is that?
Because of his development, he does have some special needs. So sometimes he acts, sometimes he can act like a 15-year-old, sometimes he can act like a 5-year-old.
Right, like many teenagers actually.
Yes,
right?
actually, yes, in that sense, yes. But he likes to cook. He's interested in, learning more about cooking. He likes to, let's see, what else can I do? Oh, he likes to, play ball, baseball a little bit here and there.
And you said he's 15?
He's 15
Okay.
years old.
And he's at a school that he needs to stay at, so he's in a certain part of the island where he should probably stay?
It
Or
would
is
be it would be nice.
Okay.
He likes the school that he has that's in town.
Okay.
But I think he really wants a family that can, give him a lot of attention.
So with that in mind, what kind of family would be ideal for Aaron? Other children in the family, full-time working parents, one at home?
I think ideally it would be a family that maybe doesn't have children or has very few children that can give him a lot of attention and be a patient family, to help him. It's like if he's going to cook his favorite dessert, which is butter mochi, if he's going to cook that, it's going to take a while, so someone that's very patient with him and has the time to sit there with him and redirect him as needed as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so exciting to think about Aaron having a family. I'm just so excited even hearing about him. He sounds like a great kid.
Yes,
Do you have another one
yes.
you want to share?
Also, McKenna is a 14-year-old girl, and she She's athletic, so she likes to, she's a fast runner, athletically strong, likes to wrestle. And she needs a family that can be, really patient with her. She's had a lot of trauma and, disappointment in her life.
Okay.
So she needs someone that be patient with her, whether she, is having a bad day and reacts badly to being told what to do. Someone that can just be steady and not take things personally, like we were talking about, but she also has a very sweet side. She's very sweet. Like someone was sharing about how she was reading a story to the younger children the other day, so she can be really sweet and nurturing at times.
I guess when we think about children who have been abused or neglected or traumatized, we often picture children who are just so angry at the world that they don't have that soft spot left inside anymore. They've just become hardened. But from what you're saying, these children do still have great potential for good human relationships and connection, and they just need that patience and nurturing so that they can start to be comfortable in the world again.
It's hard. They have to, the world has to earn that trust again, because, for a lot of the children, and even my daughter, when she first came into our home, she didn't trust the world, and I don't blame her, So there's a lot of harm that the world or people, specific people have caused the children to be kind of, not trusting of adults, and you can understand.
For good reason. It's a protective mechanism that we don't want to see that die. Otherwise, the child will die, right? We want to see the children respond to the world in that manner, because that means that they really do have that fighting instinct still, and that they have a good shot at living a healthy life eventually once they get the right combination of parents and resources. And
Right.
yeah. Okay. Right. Thanks. Do you have some children to share about, Abby?
Sure. Again, we share some of the same kids, but I want to talk about Bailey. So Bailey is a 13-year-old, and just a little background for you. She was raised by her grandparents. Her parents had some addiction issues, so her grandparents raised her up until she was 12 years old, and she's 13 now. And one of her grandparents passed away, and the other one is unable to care for her due to their health issues. So, that gives you another side of why children enter into foster care.
And that's a lot of loss for a young child to already have to deal with. Okay.
So Bailey she's beautiful, and just has this sparkle and shine to her, I guess. And she loves sports. She's very talented playing volleyball and basketball and soccer. She's also very outspoken, said to be very popular as well at school, has a lot of friends, loves to socialize with others, loves music, and she can be in a home with as the only child or with other children. She does love younger children a lot, so that might be have a big sister added to a family, but she could also really thrive in a home that didn't have other children.
Great. And academically,
Academically, she makes great grades.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she can live on Oahu, any part of the island. It would be important to help her keep in contact with her grandparent, because they do still have a strong bond and a relationship. She's just unable to take care of her at this moment.
She sounds like a great kid. Okay, so if anyone is interested in any of these children, they should contact either you at Hawaii National Child, the Kupa'apulama program,
Yes.
or Wendy's Wonderful Children, and I think we're going to be putting the information up on the screen.
Yes.
Did you have another child to share?
Yeah, we also have another child named Dylan, and Dylan is 15, and he is of Hawaiian background, and he likes to cook. It seems to be a theme. Enjoys cooking with others, but has some social challenges. So would need a family, again, where there's not any other children in the home, where there can be that attention and help to redirect on some social skills. Very friendly, and would be a great addition to any parent looking to parent a 15-year-old.
Okay. And why did he end up in the system?
I don't have his background exactly
Okay.
on why he's there.
Some sort of trauma,
Yeah,
family members weren't able
Likely,
to be there.
again, we see in
Okay.
Hawaii, a lot of the children end up in care due to parents using drugs.
Okay. Just to make sure we're giving a complete picture, how many of these children who are in need of permanent families still retain connection to their families of origin, their birth families? For the prospective adoptive parent who's considering this, that's a very important piece if it exists, right? Because we need to make sure we're looking at the whole child and everything he or she brings. And at times, as I understand, that might include a wonderful, large, maybe possibly messy family of origin with their own needs and issues. And we cannot simply extricate them and act as if they're not there, because for the child, no matter how traumatic or potentially damaging that family was or has been, that is still the family of origin, and that family needs to be honored and respected for that reason. So what would you say on average, how many of these children actually come with connections to their birth families that the new family would need to maintain?
I think it's hard to give an exact number, but most children in care have some kind of connection with birth family, whether it's an auntie or an old neighbor maybe, or an adult sibling, a grandparent who was always good to them but just physically cannot care for them. And the different types of connections could be anywhere from physical visits to Facebook, a phone call, a letter. I think it's really important to reiterate that it's about the safety of the child. So these connections are maintained only if it's in the best interest of the child. And what I found personally for myself is, in some way or another, all of my children have connections to birth family, and they've added to our family. And I would have never imagined it or picked it on my own, but it's more beautiful than anything I could have created. So even if it seems scary at first to connect with birth family, it can really have some beautiful and positive outcomes.
And I imagine for the child, it's obviously hugely important that the new family, that the permanent family, the adoptive family, be as interested and as open to that family, because that represents the child's past. And I think for adoptive families, if you start to pick and choose what part of the child you will honor and accept, then the child may not feel wholly accepted.
Right.
So like you said, as scary as that can be for the prospective adoptive family who may want to control the environment and control what comes in and goes out of that child's life, that's a necessary part of this kind of adoption, is saying I might not be able to control all these people and how they influence my child, but they are valid parts of this child's life.
And you also don't want the child to feel like they need to choose.
Right.
That they feel in between. I can either love my biological family, or I can, love this new family. You don't want them to have to choose. It's a matter of, we're both family, and we're all, we all care about you in different ways. And maybe the biological family cannot physically care for them, but it doesn't mean that they don't care in their own way.
Yeah. And we know from closed adoption and intercountry adoptions, where we don't often have birth family information, for children who grow up in those situations, there is very often a lifelong urge or longing or curiosity or discomfort or confusion around who am I and where do I come from. So as messy or challenging as that birth family may be, and not always, sometimes they're just like you and normal.
I've always been amazed by how much more we have in common with each other after you get past the fear and the awkwardness, I guess,
Right.
how much more you do have in common than you would have thought.
And I think that's a great thing to be on the lookout for, is that commonality always in human relations. But for the child, you're able to answer questions by having access to this birth family, which is so important to the child's long-term development and health, which you don't always have. So I tell families who are in this position, you should embrace that, as scary as it may be. Okay, we're getting down to the time where we're going to need to wrap up, so I just want to make sure we've talked about all the important things. Is there anything that you want to share about your own experiences that you think might help people in adopting older children? Or
Well, I just want to mention, I think sometimes people are hesitant to adopt because they're afraid of the cost, and if you adopt from the foster care system, all the legal fees are taken care of. The state does the adoption for you. They do the paperwork for you. I think, a big part of the fear of adoption.
So there's no cost,
No
to
cost.
the adopting family.
Right.
Okay. Great. Okay. And I know health insurance in Hawaii is a big cost for a lot of people, and you said that health insurance is provided even after adoption for a period of time.
Yes,
So,
yes,
okay.
health insurance and also a stipend for the child. It's doesn't cover all cost of a child by any means, but it is a stipend to help offset some of the costs of raising a child.
Great. Okay.
I think what's nice about, I think a lot of people that adopt or are thinking about adopting older children, I think they have this fear that they're not going to be able to influence or make an influence on the child's life because they're already, kind of set in their ways, or they're already older. But I can share, and I'm sure you can share too, about how even when you adopt an older child, it's amazing what a difference you can make in a child's life. And you can see, it's just neat to see a child transform and blossom right before your eyes.
yes.
I've done a lot of great things, and we, both of us, we work in the field, but sometimes you wonder if you're making a difference, but when you see a child in your home blossom, you've made a difference. There's no doubt in my mind that I've made a difference in the 2 children that we adopted, and I'm sure you feel the same.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
one of your children, just to clarify, you adopted when the child was just a year and a half or so.
We
And
provided
the-
foster care, and they adopted.
Okay, and the
And
other one you
then-
got at age 10.
Yes.
And I think, and she's now
18.
18. Super important, because we hear so often from prospective families, and I guess there was a time when this was trumpeted around quite a bit in the popular media, that there is a 0 to 3 window. And that's the time when you can get in and influence that child and mold that child into your own likeness, or have some influence, or, somehow ensure that that child will turn out to be the kind of child that you want that child to be. And what you're saying is, whether or not that's true neurologically, emotionally, socially, you have seen children who are far past that 0 to 3 age come into your home and others' homes and become a part of the family and be influenced.
Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt the first 3 years of a child's life is very important, but
Doesn't mean you give up after
doesn't-
that.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's done, I think, we have so many examples of children that have been adopted at an older age, and just to be there for them, for all the different, as a safety net for the days that are hard, for the times that they fail, but also for the times to celebrate, the holidays, to go home, to have a home to go home to for the holidays, or have someone to call you on your birthday and wish you a happy birthday,
And for those, you're talking specifically also the much older kids. We were talking before we started about why would someone adopt a 19-year-old? You adopted one who was 21.
21-year-old, yeah.
Right.
You're
And
never too old for a family. You always need a family. And just looking back at Mala, she's lived in our house since she was 18, and now she's going to be turning 24. And just to see the growth in that time, from 18 to 24, she has a full-time job that she's able to hold down. She's proud of herself. She trusts others. She just got accepted to Job Corps. She's built strong, loving relationships with our friends and our family and our church community. She's on the foster youth advocacy board, making changes for other foster youth. It's just all these things that she wasn't doing before she had the love and support of a forever family.
I get goosebumps just thinking about it, that there's really never an age where we don't really need family and rely on family, and you're never too old to need a mom
Right.
and to need a family to call your own. Well, this has been really enlightening for me, and I'm so hopeful that because of this show, we will have people calling in
I
to
hope
your
so.
2 organizations, asking how they can sign up to adopt and experience the joys and challenges and wonderful love that you both have experienced as moms and as professionals. So thank you, and I guess we're going to put up on the screen that information. People can call, they can write, they can come to your seminars, which are monthly at Wendy's Wonderful Children.
Wendy's Wonderful Kids. Yeah, we have monthly orientation, so they
Okay.
can contact us and we can let them know about that.
Great, and then they can
Call or stop by or email us, and
Okay.
we'll definitely get back to them and explore the option of them adopting one of our kids.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And the holidays are a great time of year for people to be thinking about families. So maybe if you were thinking about adopting and you hadn't actually taken any steps to do it, now would be a good time to consider opening your heart and your home to an older waiting child. So thank you.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.